Welcome, Solara here. I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you for being here. Thank you if you are new, a new subscriber. Thank you if you are returning. Thank you to those of you who have, donated, signed up for services with me, commented, emailed. I appreciate all of you guys. I hope that you've had a good weekend. Full moons are always intense, and as we move deeper into these energies, it feels like, it's just constantly picking up in intensity. But I hope that you were able to tune into the lighter energies. It's 11:11 on my clock. I hope you were able to tune into the lighter energies of this moon, because this full moon in Leo had a very playful, childlike, imaginary, wanderlust quality to it, for as long as we were able to tune into that, and for as long as also we're in divine alignment and we've done a good deal of the healing of our inner child. That's really, this Leo full moon energy would have really benefited you and felt good mostly, because there were still things we had to deal with, there always are, but it would have mostly felt good to you if you've been putting in the work to heal and accept your inner child. For others, there was a big struggle, a lot of inner child projections and deflection, a lot of people wanting to come into your energy to kind of project their mainly mother wounds was a big one this full moon, because we're of course carrying on from the Cancerian energy. It was a Cancerian degree, and one of you pointed out so kindly also that astronomically, of course, the moon is in Cancer, so it's beautiful how that works out, because we always have the interplay of the moon before astrologically, because astronomically if you're looking at the sky, if you have one of these apps, I have one called Sky View, it's really great, and you're looking at the sky and where the moon was, it technically was in Cancer and it's in Leo now, but astrologically speaking, it was in Leo. So there's a lot of that merging of the Cancer and the Leo energy, and the Cancerian energy really is to do with the mother. It's to do with all of the ancestral energies, good and bad, that have been birthed by way of the mother energy. And then the Leo energy has to do with child, but it's also masculine energy. So it's all the ways that we are able to utilize the power of how we've been mothered to be confident and to step into taking action towards what it is we desire to do and be in the world. That is the Leo energy. It's solar in nature, which is masculine energy. I want to talk today about some downloads I've received. I might pull cards after, but I was noticing something after I did that reading on Friday. I've had a lot of downloads, so please bear with me, because I've already begun 2 videos and I wasn't able to, I felt like my energy was a little bit scattered, so I had to ground again, because this is an important message, but there's so much, and it's not that it's so intricate, it's just that it's in everything, and I want to be able to articulate it and relate it in a way that is accessible and in a way that you receive the message in which it's intended. Okay, so on Friday I did a reading all about, well, I did a few readings on Friday, but 2 out of 3 of them, there was one and then there was a part 2 because I got more information about it. In the part 1 of the reading, and this reading was about breaking an oath or a vow. In the part 1 of the reading, I opened the reading, and before I even pulled cards, there was a message that was coming through, and the message was, you are becoming the institution. And I was really picking up on a lot of Hierophant energy. I didn't really know where the reading was going at the time, but eventually it led to this information around oaths and vows that had been made in past lives surrounding certain religious orders and institutions that were still trying to hold on to you. And they were also utilizing the power, for some of you, of, karmic family members. think there was a karmic mother in there specifically, I don't remember now, but it was utilizing the power of karmic family members to keep you bound. But what part 2 was showing was that it wasn't that you were bound to those members alone. You were bound to those members by way of another energy, which was actually the entity that upheld the institution to which you had pledged, and for some of you had broken the oath or the vow and walked away and left, so you hadn't fulfilled it, and this energy was like seeking some kind of vengeance. So what I noticed this weekend was there was a lot of energy around this Hierophant energy and this institution energy, and more messages around how, I guess, as divine beings, we are becoming the institutions. And when I say we're becoming the institutions, that doesn't mean that we are becoming the same things that have bound the masses because we've sought, because we're going to seek to control their narratives again. An institution is something that upholds and delivers an energy. That's how I see it, right? I know that's not the conventional way of maybe defining it, but that's kind of how I'm being shown it. And for a lot of the age of Pisces specifically, this energy of organized religion has bound people out of their power. And it was very intentional. You could say it was even before the age of Pisces, because the age of Pisces began really with Jesus entering the picture, and Jesus actually came to destroy this energy that we're going to talk about tonight. Jesus came to destroy these people, orders, groups, energies that ultimately were here to keep us out of our power and out of our light and out of our divinity, right? Jesus came to be an example of how we ascend and we move out of the false mother system, the matrix, or as it's called in the Bible, which, you know, take it as it resonates, they called it in the book of Revelation, the great whore of Babylon, which is really the false mother energy. It is a counterfeit energy created to silence and to bind the Divine Mother energy, and in doing so also did so for the Divine Father energy, because a lot of what we, and this is my opinion, a lot of what has been shown to us as being God, whether in the Bible or other texts, while there is some truth to that identity or personality, a lot of it was also twisted in order to keep people in perpetual states of fear. And if you've been with me for a while, we know that fear is a state that any person or group or faction wants to keep us in for the purpose of us being controlled, right? And I want to be careful with what I say here, because the God of the Bible is very interesting, because a lot of how we perceive the God of the Bible is based upon how he has been taught to us versus what is throughout Scripture. There's a reason behind everything that we were shown, for better or for worse. And I don't want to open that can of worms right now, but I do want to get into this Leviathan energy that's been coming into my consciousness for a couple of weeks now. Coming into my consciousness for a couple of weeks, but really solidifying why over the weekend and with that reading about this religious entity. And I've always, I was once again a born-again Christian. I'm not affiliated with any organized religion at this point, but I was well versed with the spirit of Leviathan as being the spirit of pride, right? But I didn't really delve much further than that. And it's interesting because my guides really wanted me to kind of focus on how that spirit is masquerading itself right now in an attempt to keep many of us out of Ascension, and why it's been so prevalent in this full moon in Leo energy. And also, it's kind of to let us know that the power of this spirit, which has been fed by the abuse structures and narcissistic paradigms and energetic templates that were created to perpetuate these energies in the matrix, it's broken. It's broken. It's broken energetically, and it's wanting to release itself through us. But we must go with the flow, okay? And the thing about the Leviathan spirit, and this is what they were showing me, it was so interesting to me because I was just like, but why now? Why are you showing it to me now? And so when I did some more research, I was shown that the Leviathan spirit also has to do with the spirit of envy, which didn't surprise me at all because pride and envy are very much interconnected. But what I was being shown is like, well, why are you showing me this? Well, because the spirit of Leviathan seeks to control the solar plexus. And the solar plexus energy is your personal sun. The solar plexus energy is how you shine in the world. The solar plexus energy is how you begin to take the initial steps to go after your truth, right? And to rise into your divinity. The solar plexus energy is how you ascend. You ascend through the solar plexus energy in order to access the fullness of your stargate, which is your heart. That is the entry point that we must ascend into as human beings. Or at least that's how it's been explained to me, okay? So the solar plexus is developed for better or for worse through our childhood experiences. It is the seat of our childhood experiences, and so therefore it's also the seat of our childhood wounds. And as I've spoken about in past readings, the entirety of the matrix, or the false mother system, was rooted and perpetuated and kept alive by this energy of the wounded child. And that was enacted in many, many ways that we won't get too deep into tonight. But one of the main ways that it was kept alive collectively was through these institutions whereby when we're children and we're learning who we are, we're constantly being injured and put back in our place and experiencing trauma, whether it's a series of micro traumas or for some people like big traumas, but the systems are designed to keep you in perpetual states of micro traumas that break you down enough that you therefore surrender your power, right? And the solar plexus is the seat of your power, okay? So when I began to ask, well, what are you showing me? And they were saying to me, well, Leviathan plays in the sea. And I was like, okay, plays in the sea. Those are your emotions. Your waters, the waters of your reality, like you are, let's put it this way, you are a microcosm within a macrocosm, and you are the earth in a more condensed form, if that makes sense. So you have your waterways, you have your transportation systems, you have air, it's your mind, you have water, it's your emotions, right? The elements are aligned with you. You are the elements and the elements are you. And water is where we hold all of our past life cellular information. It's in the waters of your soul. Hence the reason why your intuition is something that you pick up on through your emotional body. Your emotional body is how you access your intuition. It's how you access your dreams. It's how you access those the subconscious information that sometimes consciously you don't want to deal with, but it's still there. It's in the waters of your soul. Okay, and so they're breaking it down to me like this. Leviathan is not only an entity that's like in the grander external energies of what we call Earth or the former matrix, Leviathan was this energy that was playing in our seas. And the way the Leviathan spirit got into our seas was through these institutions. And what the Leviathan spirit aimed to do in order to gain access was to create a root of rejection. And where that root of rejection is, this is where pride and envy can grow, and that Leviathan spirit can circulate within you and therefore grow in the greater collective energy, because it's already there underpinning the collective consciousness, because it is one, not all, but one of many of the major entities that was being fed in order to keep the matrix or the false mother system alive. And so for that reason, people who've had childhoods where they dealt with being ignored, being very wounded in childhood, whether it was physical, emotional, or mental, because understand and overstand that wounding is subjective. What hurts one person is not going to hurt another, right? And the thing about this energy is that it's majority emotional wounds, okay? So what hurts somebody emotionally is not going to hurt another one, because we're so different, and the way we perceive life is so unique. But the Leviathan energy, it seeks to emotionally damage a child in order to create a seed, or in order to plant a seed of rejection, in order to keep that person, even as they grow into adulthood and don't heal that inner child, to keep them ever seeking energies outside of self to validate. And as such, that energy of pride can rise up too, because what the Leviathan energy can create is somebody who always wants to be better or seem better, or at least cut people down to size so that they can appear better, or they can appear superior, or this is the Leviathan energy. It's an inferiority complex that often births envy also, because it causes that very person who wants to act like they're better to look at everyone else and compare themselves to other people, but then try to find the fault in another person in order to then pick at it, in order to inflate their ego or their false sense of confidence. But, you know, that energy is rooted in rejection wounds that began in childhood. So again, we have that childhood connection, which is solar plexus. This energy is formed in us when we are not properly valued. That's really what it comes down to. Valued by our parents, valued by the systems that we are, a part of, such as school. So my guides were showing me, because it was showing up a lot in my reality this weekend in all manner of people and situations. And what you have to understand and overstand about entities is that none of us are above having to deal with that within ourselves. And this is why healing is so important. And I mentioned this in another video. None of us are above having to deal with these energies. For as long as we are in denial about the fact that we have a wound, and for as long as we're projecting and deflecting and not dealing with it within self, we are giving that energy free space to live within the context of our own darkness that we refuse to see. Right? I hope I'm making sense. So, as such, this entity is doing its best now to try to not only survive, but also to shapeshift in order to survive. And Leviathan loves glory. It loves false glory and loves to appear to be right. And in order to be right, putting down others. It's a highly religious spirit that also indulges in a lot of persecution of others and their like. Does it sound familiar at all? Okay, so what I was noticing, what I've noticed about this energy as it shows up in others, but also even in ourselves, because we're constantly supposed to be, checking our own hearts too, But it's really an important message because this is a spirit that's really trying to mask itself right now in the spiritual community. And I'm seeing it a lot in people who are bound to like legalistic ways of viewing spirituality. Like, you can only be spiritual or high vibrational if you eat this food, or you do this yoga pose, or you follow this teaching, or you follow this mode of thinking. And if you think outside of that, heaven forbid you leave the box I'm trying to put you in order to explore, or heaven forbid that you know something that I don't know, or maybe even I know something more than you know, I'm going to come and descend upon you and make it seem like you're the one who is spreading misinformation, when really I was just sitting down there waiting for you to fuck up, or to do something that seems like you fucked up, so I could do that, because that's the spirit of a Leviathan. It loves to cause itself to have this, cause itself to rise and appear to be superior to another by tearing them down. And it loves to do this with wisdom and with spiritual knowledge. It's why it's one of those energies that has pervaded the church to the point where, just like that reading on Friday where I was talking about the connection, the oaths, the vows to institutions, a lot of these institutions, especially the three main religions of the world, are very much rooted in this idea that they have the sacred teachings, and they've got to gatekeep, and also they know what it is that God's will is for the collective and for the greater good. That's a dangerous place to be. That is the spirit of Leviathan at work. That is using God, spirituality, teachings, whatever you want to call it, in order to once again control someone's narrative with fear. Because here's the truth, and here's how you know you're dealing with someone who's not in that energy. Every single one of us has a path and a journey to be on in any given lifetime. Some people are here to ascend all the way this lifetime. Some people are here to ascend to different levels. Some people are here to descend. So as such, the teachings for each of those people who are on these different journeys of their soul, it's going to be different. So for as long as someone's not coming out and saying, this is the ultimate truth and it's the only way and blah, 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 they're not in error. There's nothing wrong with expressing information and your truth in order to expand the consciousness of someone else, and then leave it with them to decide what they want to do with it. It's why we have free will. God gave us free will because we're here to learn our way back into our own divinity through self, and then our experiences and interactions with the world, including other people. We're not here to be led by anyone else back to God. People can help, people can inspire, people can, like I said, open our consciousness up. But at the end of the day, ascension, just like birth and death, are individual experiences whereby we are here to forge our own path. And even sometimes, oftentimes, we have to descend and regress to go forward. And there's a plethora of ways that occurs and that has to happen. And at the end of the day, God, the divine, nothing shocks the divine. Everything is always in order. Okay? People who think that they have to lead you into your ascension, or lead you into your truth, or be your leader, as opposed to giving you the tools to lead yourself, are people who want you in fear and in debt to them. It's a narcissistic energy. It's very deeply rooted and it's very subtle, but we have to be aware of it, because we're not here to create more codependency under the guise of being spiritual, or more dependency out of the guise of being spiritual. And this Leviathan energy is also very much at the root of a lot of the narcissistic templates that have been a part of this age of Pisces, that we're phasing out, not only collectively, but within ourselves, because we've all been conditioned to be certain ways. right? For example, and this is where I become a bit of a stickler. If I'm delivering a message, or if I'm going to a channel and someone else is delivering a message, I have no right to put, well, I can. It's a shitty thing to do, and it shows my own lack of awareness. But for me to go onto self-awareness, for me to go onto another person's YouTube channel who's just doing nothing but sharing their light, okay? Not harming anyone, just sharing what they know, and then to come on and to tell them, I don't like the way you do that. It doesn't suit me. You talk too much. You don't talk enough. Your hair looks like, who the fuck is you? That is somebody trying to play God. That's someone trying to command your energy. That's someone telling you, you need to express your divinity the way I want you to, because otherwise I'm not comfortable. So run along and do that. And that's not how it works. And that's a bit of it's more of an extreme example. It's one that I've faced quite a bit in the short time I've had my new channel here. But it's an energy I've seen on other tarot readers' channels too. And that is that entitled energy that is rooted also in pride and also envy, because low-key, the reason why they're coming at you like that is because you have the confidence or the drive, or, whatever it is that's fueling you to come out there and to put yourself out there. And a lot of the time they're sitting behind their screens wanting to do the same thing, but too afraid to start. So now let me shrink you to make myself feel better, because maybe you're giving a message that I have a lot of information about too, but I'm too scared to go out there and do it. You get what I'm saying? So it's an envy energy too. It's a wanting what you have, but it's also a prideful energy. I know more. So I deserve to have what you have, and you don't deserve it, and I'm going to scratch you down, and etc., etc. Spiritual pride, it seeks to stop or hinder true deliverance, healing, and freedom. It has to control. It's like it will allow you to shine, but only so much. And that's what all of the religious institutions up until this point have been designed to do. They've been designed to control your spirituality, control your light, control your ability to ascend. We'll let you go this far, but no farther, because otherwise you become a threat to our institution, and all of that has to come down. But here's the thing, before it can come down collectively, it has to come down within ourselves first, because we are, the external energies again, are a direct reflection of where we are as individuals. We create this reality, and especially as light beings, light workers, way showers, because we are at the forefront of this energetic shift on the planet, it's really important right now that we search for that energy within ourselves, and we don't tolerate it when we see it. Remember on Friday, that was a card that kept on coming up in the beginning, and they were showing it to me a little bit more. That energy of it was like, you cannot indulge this. You're being too indulgent with this person. I thought it was a person at the time, but it's not. We're not allowed to be indulgent with these energies from the past that are such a big part of the way that the narrative around spirituality was controlled. Those energies are really wanting to seep in again. And so when I was talking to my guides about it, they were saying to me, they were showing me some of the ways it shows up in people. Okay, so I've shared some of them. Let me tell you some more. These are the people who, when you bring like any kind of, when they come, a lot of the time they come at you. And so then you respond to them, right? And they might come back at you and want to continue arguing. It is what it is. But some of them will come back and they will act as if what you've said has really affected them, and they'll start to put on a show. And it's very performative in nature, because as a divine being that change doesn't happen that quickly. Change requires true integration. And a lot of the time, they were still so combative to begin with. It's like, it's possible for a quick shift to happen in someone's heart, but it's rare. And a lot of the time, your own spirit will show you it's a performative change. It's a changing in order to once again try to manipulate your waters. Remember, Leviathan plays in the sea. So it's a performative change. It's not true repentance. It's not heart elevation. It's not heart connection. It's still heart. There's still an energy of stubbornness, pride, but it's like, if I can't get you to budge this way and control you this way, then I'm gonna pretend to be a certain way in order to manipulate you that way. Okay, that's one thing. The other thing is that this energy is very prone to flattery, right? So it likes to flatter and manipulate your reality in order to get whatever it seeks out of you. It loves to do that. It loves to also, in the flattery, try to put others down or to seem as if you're better than someone else. So it will come at you like, oh yes, you know, you were speaking about this and I so got it the other day, and but when I was listening to this other reader, blah, 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 she was totally like off the, you know, she wasn't getting what you were saying at all. And I so appreciate, and, you know, like some people will say things like that because it's just, you know, something that they're noticing. But my point is that this spirit will utilize what it perceives as the downfall of someone else to try to elevate your confidence or play on your ego or play on your rejection wounds to make you feel as if you're powerful. And it's a trick. It's a trick to once again manipulate you, to get you to do what you want to do. And here's a funny thing. It's because that spirit will often say things to you and like downplay the energy of somebody else. And it will go to that same person and do the same thing with them, but with you. So go to that person and flatter them and tear you down in order to make the flattery appear to be more sincere. It's kind of this energy of false worship. Yes? What they were showing me is that this spirit is also, it's very religious, right? So it's very stubborn. It will only shift if it wants to, and this is how I'm talking about presenting itself, not releasing from you, but it will only shift, you know, in its energy in order to get what it is it wants. So it will, like I said, it will pretend to say certain things in order to get what it wants. But at its crux, it's a very stubborn, stuck spirit, because the whole point of it is it doesn't know how to flow itself with lighter energies, the energies that are designed for the expansion of consciousness and the rising. And as such, it's wanting to hinder you there. So it's like the Leviathan energy is like when your Kundalini starts rising and it reaches your solar plexus energies, where then in order to rise further into your stargate, to gain access to your heart and your vehicle, and also for the energies of your divine energies of the crown, the third eye, and the throat to meet in that place for the true marriage, the true wedding to occur, right? Which you can also achieve through, you know, sacred sexual union. But first and foremost, I believe it should be achieved in self first, although everyone's path is different. But given where we are in these energies and this ascension, I personally think this is something that people should engage in first in order to clear ourselves of the energies of the old world, right? But the whole point of the, remember I said the Leviathan energy is a gatekeeper, like it likes to stop you from, and this is the point of religion, the institution of religion, organized religion. It's to be a gatekeeper to the sacred information and knowledge you're allowed to have, and it utilizes the power of the spirit collectively to do that. Well, the Leviathan spirit does that within our energy fields too, right? So it's a gatekeeper. It tries to keep you out of ascending into your own sacredness by stopping you at the solar plexus, by stopping you from rising above the childhood wounds that haven't been healed, that therefore allows this spirit and other lower level entities and energies to be able to kind of hang out and camp in the recesses and the darkness of your shadow that we're refusing to see. Okay, what they were also telling me is that the Leviathan spirit is a mercantile marine spirit, and I was just like, mercantile marine spirit, like that has to do with being a merchant, right? That has to do with trade. But they were saying to me, yes, but it's deeper than that. This spirit is designed to put stalls and stops in the full activation of your Merkaba and your light body, which in the tarot is affiliated with the major arcana card, which is the Chariot energy. And we know that this is the year of the Chariot, and as such, this energy seems to really be kicking off, because this is the year where it's just like, toodaloo, bye, you know, you're not going to hang around divine beings anymore, blocking us from moving into our own sacred wisdom. You're not going to steal it from us. You're not going to box us. You're not going to limit us in any way. You're not going to try to make yourself seem more superior, or like you are more like God and so therefore deserve this information more than we do, when it's actually kind of the other way around. But when you're truly walking in your divinity, you're not trying to lord it over anyone or make them seem like you know things that they don't know and you're better and all this other shit. It's enough of that, right? But and this is what they were showing me. It's a mercantile marine spirit, and they were breaking it down for me in this way too. So they gave me this download a few weeks ago. What they were saying to me, what my guides were saying to me, I keep on getting this like more information about how we're interdimensional like travel machines, and how so many of us have been bound astrally and shut down in order for other energies, groups, entities, factions to utilize the power of our own energy that we weren't tapping into to actually travel interdimensionally. And so how they were explaining it to me, my guides, was like, your energy fields have these waterways that lead to all of your ports. And then you have, of course, you have the main stargate, which is your heart, but then you have your Merkaba energy. You have so many different light body activations and entryways and gates and all of that stuff that's happening for you energetically that you're not aware of because you're not told, right? But for as long as you're not knowing this, these external forces have been utilizing, these gatekeepers of information have been utilizing your fields to go and do what it is that they want to do interdimensionally, to bring things back on the earth that resonate with you emotionally, because in the waters of your soul, you know it to be true, even if you don't know it consciously. And so they've been getting this information through you, bringing it back onto the earth plane and selling it back to you, and using emotional manipulation, also known as influence, to be in water, to be utilizing the power of emotion to get somebody to do something, like Leviathan. They've been utilizing this energy against you. And so the Leviathan energy is here to control your ports. It's here to control your ability to activate the fullness of your own light body for interdimensional travel, okay? And as such, it's one of the major entities that is underpinning these orders, these societies, our educational systems, our religious and our financial institutions, because it's designed to keep people following energies outside. It's designed to keep people seeking God outside of self. Whether it is that you're actually seeking God outside of self in the form of organized religion, your God is money, your God is food, your God is alcohol, it doesn't matter. The point is to be seeking the satisfaction that can only be found when you are in divine alignment outside of self. That's the point. It's to keep you completely ignorant of your own godhood and form you therefore to attach to energies that tell you how to be, when really the only one who knows how to be you and to do it well is you. And the only way you know how to do that is by reclaiming your divinity and your authority over self by way of reconnecting with the Most High. I hope I'm making sense, because it just feels like it's so... Anyway. So as such, this Leviathan energy loved to get You know, it's why we have a priest set up, and why you had to, and why when Jesus even came on the earth, he was like abolishing this idea that you have to go to a priest in order to reach God. You know, well, we know it's not true, but this Leviathan energy wants you worshipping outside of self and outside of your true connection with the divine. And as such, it wants you following teachings and teachers that are kind of concrete in the way that these teachings and teachers want you to think a certain way. And when you move outside of that box, then they attack you to try to play on your rejection and abandonment wounding, which again is that inner child wound, to get you back into your place. Right? So it's all emotional manipulation in order to control. The Leviathan energy is constantly seeks admiration, praise, and external validation to feed its false confidence. And what it wants you to do also is to do the same thing. So it wants you to seek the validation outside of self, to do things that please others, to do things that others say, oh, you've got it, that's right, you're right, blah, blah, blah. It wants you to, and there's nothing wrong with external validation. We are here to mirror one another, but the problem becomes when we rely on other people to tell us who we are. And that's what this Leviathan energy wants to do. But it's very interesting because they were showing it to me. They were showing to me the Leviathan energy. The heart of Leo comes to slay it. So on the tarot, the number 8 card, which is also about cycles, infinity, right? Ad infinitum, going around and around. The Leo energy of that card, it comes to defeat it. And the reason that is because, again, the Leo energy is here. And I'm not talking about Leos, like people who just have like sun in Leo, moon in Leo, rising. I'm talking about the Leo energy itself and how it facilitates all of us, such as last night's full moon in Leo. It's here to help us slay this energy. And it's the reason why on the Strength card you see her taming the beast. It's also why on some seals you will see this energy of a lion dragon figure with a unicorn. And these energies are the ones that are kind of bookending another one. And that in and of itself, I think, is... I don't want to get into that tonight, but my point is that the lion energy, the reason they were showing me this is because the lion energy is very much connected to dragon energy. And dragon energy, contrary to all of the myths that they've shown us, the dragons are the keepers of the ley lines. They are how the earth, the energy of the earth is supposed to run when things are in balance and not under the control and imprisonments that were created by the Matrix in order to subdue those energies, if that makes sense. So, furthermore, this energy is eliminated, exposed, and eradicated by the power of the sun. And you can see that as the sun, S-U-N, as in that beautiful celestial being of light that sustains us. Or you can also see it as the sun, S-O-N, which is the divine golden child that is here to be birthed in all of us, also known as our Christed energy, and why we also speak a bit about the coming of the sun, the coming again of the sun. It is a concept that is really a double entendre. It's about the coming of the sun and the solar weather that we're dealing with right now, that is here to facilitate the rising of our Kundalini, that helps us to access our Christ consciousness, our Christed energy, right? And part of the doorway to that, one of the main doorways to that, is the solar plexus and the repossession of our hearts, which are our stargates, which then allows us to move forward in full possession of our energy fields and our light bodies, and that is the chariot energy. So I have here the reclamation. Yes, so this is about the reclamation and ownership of our solar plexus in order for our personal sun to rise again. And when our personal sun rises again, then what happens is that we are breaking contract with the energies that try to keep our sun from rising. And we were all, let me say it, we were all initiated into this energy through the systems of the matrix. None of us are exempt. It's just that some of us are further on the path to healing from it and recognizing it than others. So this Leviathan energy is designed to constrict our energy fields, especially emotionally, to prevent all mechanisms of ascension, including, but not limited to, Kundalini activations, successful inner child healing, inner union of our own masculine and feminine energies, also, the great wedding that occurs in the heart, the full integration of our dark matter, which is our shadow, and the things that we need to pay attention to in order to eradicate those energies that seek to hide in our denial and repress truth, and also the ultimate reclamation. So these energies also, they're designed to constrict our energy fields to prevent the reclamation of our own energy fields, re-access to our own portals or ports, stargates, and therefore our entire light body. This energy, this Leviathan energy, will try to keep you focused on the minutiae, and not in a good way, because it will try to keep you focused on putting a lot of attention into the small details so that you miss the bigger picture, so you don't see the truth. And this is why the systems of the matrix have been set up like this, keeping you really busy all the time with things that eventually when you wake up and you begin to look around at the reality, you begin to realize, wow, this whole system has been designed to keep me distracted with things that aren't even important, the minutiae. And those people who are able to be really good at just looking at the little things that they want you to see and not the big picture, those are the ones that get rewarded in the system, right? Because again, that energy continues, that staying in that, focusing on just the small details instead of getting the bird's eye view, so you can have an access to truth in order to expand. That again it's feeding the energy of Leviathan. Okay. So the spirit doesn't want you to see the whole picture and how everything interacts and contributes and how everything is interconnected. It doesn't want you seeing that. It will attack your ability to really understand and overstand energy, because really, I'm going to go back to the Bible again. And to Jesus. Jesus came here to show us about our energy fields. That's what the parables are about. That's why they say in the Bible you cannot access or understand this information unless you're born again in spirit. It's something that requires you walking in spirit and in truth, because that's a frequency in which that information then becomes accessible, because Jesus kind of spoke kind of in riddles. But when you break down what it was he was actually saying, he's showing you how your energy field works. He's showing you how the dimensions work. He's showing you how you can travel interdimensionally and you can exist in many realms and dimensions at once. He's showing you who you really are. And he's showing you what it is that the Matrix wanted to tell you wasn't possible. So the Matrix or false mother system, it awards men and women for being wise, calls them wise or successful when they master the details and the fragments of, when they master, again, the minutiae, when they are able to just keep their focus on the small things and therefore keep the collective energy fragmented, because refusal to look at the bigger picture. It's almost like if you were to go, it's like if you were to go to the doctor and you have a tiny external symptom that is a symptom that shows a really big internal problem. But the doctor just focuses on that external symptom and just, dissects it and tells you everything there is to know. 000 on my clock tells you everything there is to know about that external symptom, breaks it down with such eloquence, but doesn't tell you that the reason it's there is because there's this bigger energy that's occurring to make it alive and to keep going. It's like the Leviathan energy doesn't want you to see the big ass energy that's keeping something bad alive. It wants you to focus on solving a problem of the external energy that really it can't be solved until you go to the root and see how the whole energy system is circulating, growing, killing other energies. You have to get a deep understanding of how the whole energetic picture looks in order to actually destroy something from the root. That energy of Leviathan doesn't want you doing that and this is why a lot of our systems were created this way, including the system of medicine and pharmacy or pharmakia, which is another form of magic or energy manipulation. But the point is, like in modern day allopathic medicine, there is a focus on separating the human body and dealing with each area of the human body as if it's separate from the whole. So I say that because you've got to get that every single thing of this system was designed to keep you fragmented and in separation. And one of the spirits that was at the helm of this, one, not the only one, keeping it alive, was the spirit of Leviathan. Okay, so there's many things at work here. So again, it's very rampant in the spiritual community. That's why we're talking about it today. And it's trying to keep the whole picture from being exposed. Hence the reason why now it's filtering into the spiritual community now. Because once upon a time it was a spirit whose focus was religion. But now that spirituality is becoming more mainstream and more people want to know, it's the age of Aquarius, it's time for things to shift. Now it's infiltrating this community, the spiritual community, because the Leviathan energy seeks to go where the spotlight is, because then it comes in to take it for itself. It's a sun-stealing energy, right? It's rampant in the spiritual community. It's blocking the fullness of the rising sun. And it's gifting you with Christmas light revelations instead that tickle the ego and build bank balances. So these are the so-called spiritual gurus or teachers who are, they might be giving you some revelation, but they're not giving you the whole meal. They're like giving you bits and pieces and scraps in order to satiate you or satiate us. And because we've been so starved of this knowledge, we can be deceived into thinking it's a lot when it's not. And these are the ones who love to prey on others to build their bank accounts. And again, that's that spirit of pride, of elevating oneself and controlling another person or group's narrative. The dismantling of the spirit within and without is occurring now, and this full moon in Leo and the full moon in Cancer, where very big energies are going to also bring in a full culmination with the full moon in Virgo, because the Virgo energy is about seeking independence by accessing the power of your own personal sun, going within and finding your own light and letting that light, which is your solar energy, lead you out into the wheel of fortune, your truth, that aligns you divinely with everything that always was yours. So they were telling me, I think these are the last few downloads, okay? They were telling me that the ones who are able to dismantle the spirit in them, and all the ways it lurks and hides in all of us, the ones who are able to dismantle it the easiest are those who are curious. Those who are curious. Remember that Jesus said, in order to enter the kingdom of heaven, you must become like a child. Well, the child energy that Jesus was talking about is fifth house energy. It's that playful, fun energy that I was talking about, that was very much present yesterday in that Leo full moon energy. But it's more than just that. What Jesus was referring to was not only the reclamation of innocence, which was also something that was happening for us with this full moon, and I mentioned that also in one of my other readings, or the report, I don't remember now, but I did mention the reclamation of innocence. But the becoming like a child is when you first come into the world or into the matrix system and you're a child, you come here with pure intent. You're more connected with the divine and your divine truth than you probably, most people, will ever be again, right? And this is what Jesus is talking about. When you must become like a child, is you must become as you were before you were programmed by these systems and institutions that sought to control your narrative. This is what is being spoken about. And one trait that children have that adults lose is that if you give a child a piece of information, they don't judge it from a place of being critical unless they've learned how to do that from an adult. In other words, children are only judgmental when they've learned that modeled before them. Children in general, in their natural energy and essence, are just curious. Nothing is good or bad. It's an opportunity to explore and to see. And this is where it becomes, it becomes dangerous if you're a parent and you have like a toddler who's like moving into the world and walking and there's a whole new world is open for them, and they're just led by this curiosity that's not yet tempered with the wisdom that comes from the experience of knowing what things do. Right? So a lot of the time a toddler has no problem trying to put their hands in the fire on the stove, unless they've had a bad past life experience. But the point is, they're not afraid because to them it's just like, they don't know that fire is hot. They're just curious. They're seeing something and they want to know more about it. And this is where we're being called to be more like right now, because this curiosity is what allows us to not judge from a place of woundedness. So if we're curious about an energy, we're curious about what somebody says instead of trying to cut them down and say we know everything. If we're curious about where something is leading us, if we're curious about what we're being shown through an energy instead of shirking away from it because we're scared that something's going to happen, if we become more curious, that is the gateway that leads us out. Like, even with these harsh energies and this dark magic that has been being thrown at us and trying to bind us, when we choose to switch out of the fear energy of like not wanting to be under attack, and we become curious about how the energy works, that's when we get the remedy, if that makes sense. The fear is the judgment. Oh my gosh, this is going to do this and do that and do that, right? The curiosity is, okay, this has come into my awareness. I'm a divine being, so everything's in divine order. So what are you showing me? What's the up level? What are you coming into my energy to show me? Because I'll tell you one thing, all of this stuff that has been downloaded to me has happened because people came to me in this spirit, and as such, and through me energy with this spirit, and as such, when they did that, because I didn't, move into an energy of fear because of all of the work I've done. I'm not saying I was always like that, and I'm not saying that I am always like that now. I'm learning too, but I will say at this point that I'm not afraid of these energies anymore, because they can only affect me and do bad things for as long as I believe that they can, and that they're more powerful than me, or that they command my energy field and not me. So when they come into my field now, they're not coming to fuck me up. When they're coming into my field now, they're coming to expose themselves for what they are and all of their mechanics, so I can then come back to you guys and be like, yeah, I had tea with Leviathan, or Leviathan dropped in my DMs or my emails, and this is the knowledge that was given to me from this exchange. You get what I'm saying? Or that energy came up within myself and I was able to find out that it was rooted in this and this experience and I was still holding on to it and yada, yada, yada. Because there's no judgment there. I don't care if it's showing up in me because it doesn't make me bad. It just makes me a human who was part of a system where we were all contracted to this energy or this entity. So therefore, there's no judgment. I'm just curious about it. And that's the way out, because the judgment for many people will be, oh, I can't house an energy like that and yada, yada, yada. And that's exactly that in and of itself is the spirit of Leviathan wanting to hide in a person under the guise of being too clean, you know, too ascended, holier than thou, when really it's coming to show you, to set you free so you can have a real form of divinity, as opposed to the fake one that Leviathan wants to cloak you in. So those who are curious instead of judgmental are the ones who are able to receive the wisdom that shines a light on where this entity has manipulated and hidden in them, or used them and their energy even to spread its false gospel, because we all were being used to magnify this energy. Yes? And the reason this is coming up also, and I've said it before, there's a grand coronation that's occurring with the new moon moving into Aries when the new astrological year begins, and then when the node switch and the north node moves into Aries, it's a time of true coronation for the masculine energies. Okay, so that's, when I say masculine energies, I'm talking about the ones within, and I'm talking about from a gender perspective also, men, okay? And that means that a lot of what has been taken through the perpetual wounding of a specific energy, and then how that has manifested not only with the masculine energies within us, but how it's then gone on to attack men, because it's grown in momentum and become projected out of us, because everything but everything is a reflection of our own energy field within, right? So if we are persecuting our feminine energy, you know, man or woman, then we're doing that to women. That's part of the greater collective energy. If we're persecuting our masculine energy within, then we're doing that with men, and we're causing the distortions that kept these energies alive. Okay? So, yeah, this was another thing. Those who deflect, project, and fight against the truths that come to set them free concerning the exposure of this energy, you know, within themselves or within, you know, how their journey, etc., are going to have another go around with this entity until they surrender to the fullness of their shadow, because that's where it's hiding, or be consumed by it, because a lot of people are about to be consumed by these energies because they've chosen not to do any of this work and to continue to project and deflect. And all of this spell work is just a magnification of people not wanting to do the work and projecting and deflecting and thinking they can control the narrative and other people's energy through messing with things of spirit that ultimately are going to imprison them too. Okay, so but this is another message that they wanted me to get at, and then I'm closing. Leviathan is under the authority of the divine, and this actually is in the Bible. I think it's in the book of Job, where it talks about Leviathan, you know, being a tool of God, or the divine, however you want to you know, whatever label you want to use. But the point is that Leviathan is under the authority of the divine, and you are divine. And what they said to me was, when you get authority, you do get authority over this entity and all the major entities of the matrix. You get the authority over them when you come into divine alignment, because you're divine too. And as a divine being, when you're in divine alignment, when you come back into the energy of the star, which is the Aquarian energy, and this is why this full moon in Leo and the sun in Aquarius is assisting us to do this, to come into full divine alignment by the exposure of a lot of this stuff. When you come into divine alignment, you get control and authority over these entities, because doing so is part of your divine inheritance. It's kind of like in real time, if you are the heir to, you know, your family's fortune, when they pass along, or even before, they can give it to you before, you get it, right? This is part of your fortune. This is part of your privilege and your birthrights as being children of the divine who are walking in your divinity. So that was a lot. I'm not pulling cards because we're already an hour over. This was a lot of information. I'm probably not going to come back on here for another few days. I'm going to let y'all integrate this. And I have, I'm kind of busy this week. And I'm a homeschooling mom, and so I've got a lot of things on my plate, but I probably will come back here on Wednesday. I'll probably take the day off tomorrow. But I hope that this reading was helpful. Well, these downloads were helpful. I hope that they set you free. My whole thing is not to point the finger and make people necessarily feel bad. That would be the Leviathan energy again, you know. I want us to identify this in self in order to get free. That's ultimately why. And to recognize that even though we may be divine, we have been living below our value because of the conditioning and the attachment to certain energies that were messing with us in order for that to become our reality. And as such, those energies were at one point controlling us, and it's time to to sever all ties with them. But we do that through the getting rid of oaths and contracts. But we also do that by revealing in ourselves where it is that they made their home in us to begin with, and that's how we then become the institution. So. Anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you. If you're interested in working with me one-to-one, please check out my website on my services page, which is listed in the description box below. And then you can shoot me an email, because my email is there too, or you can contact me by way of the website. I don't have a shopping cart feature on my website anymore, because I want to know who's coming to me at this time, because yeah. Well, for energetic purposes, energetic hygiene, I want to know. So anyway, I wish you guys the best. I'm going to love you and leave you. Until next time, be well.